if you want to tell us where you're tuning in from, you can type into the chat box. And Ingrid is saying hello from Team Zaria to Team Winnie. And so that is, thanks so much for joining us, Ingrid. All right. And yeah, we've got some folks from Minnesota today. I know there is lots of people there that were excited that you were joining us, Steve. So I'm going to start with the same question I ask everybody at the beginning of these broadcasts, is tell us how you came to be at PADS. How did you find out about us? What made you connect? And yeah, just tell us a little bit about the journey that got you to PADS.
Okay, well, hello everybody. Boy, there's what, 24 people. Wow, that's so I was a police officer for 28 and a half years with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and I spent most of my service as a traffic services investigator, among other things. And during my career, I developed post-traumatic stress disorder. And with that, there was other mental health issues that I needed to address, and I still have to address today. But I've always loved dogs, and I had an appointment with my psychologist one time and talked about service dogs, and she is a sponsor of PADS, so she suggested them. And it's funny how the universe just kind of makes things happen. So what I did was, if you hear any rustling in the back, it's just a cat. I searched PADS online and looked at them, and then I got to know this lady who was a puppy raiser, and she had a puppy named Tony. And it so happens that I met Tony a couple of times, and I fell in love with him. I really did. And so, and this lady said that, she had some other issues that she needed to deal with, and she was going to turn Tony back. So I put my application in and mentioned in there that I had met Tony, and that, I just felt a connection with him. So, I was interviewed, and I got approved and everything like that. And there was, I talked to Brian, who is the head of the PADS program here in the Okanagan and Central British Columbia. And he said, well, Tony just might be available. So, and again, like the universe, it has a sense of humor, and it has a plan. And so I was working down in Kelowna, and some of you folks in the States and stuff might not know Kelowna, but and I was doing some administrative work, and I had to go to the West Kelowna detachment, and I walked in there, and there was Tony. And he was with a temporary sitter for the time being, and then it just happened, boom, 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 and I ended up with Tony. And yeah, I raised Tony for over a year and a half, and we had a great relationship. And I learned a lot of skills. We went to puppy class, and I found that, even though a career path hadn't been chosen for Tony, I found that he was really helping me with my symptoms. He was helping to calm me down. Now, as puppy raisers, where the dogs aren't allowed on beds, or they have to sleep in their kennels closed up every night and things like that. But it was, when I had nightmares, it was just reassuring, when I would wake up, even hearing him snoring. was just a reassurance that he was there and that he was calming. And he always could pick up if I was stressed. And I knew that he was helping me. And then, and Brian, who, I have, I'm pretty close to Brian as well. And, I was able to disclose to Brian that, I would eventually like to get my own PTSD service dog. And so Brian encouraged me to apply for one. And I did, and I went through the process. And Winnie was chosen for me. And, when it came time to make the switch, it was very tough. It really was. Yeah, Tony he knew something was going on, and it was really hard to let him go. But Margaret and Val and the rest of the PADS team, they did a really good job in that, Margaret took Tony away and then she brought Winnie back. And I had met Winnie the day before, and then Tony and I spent our last night together, and so they took Tony away, and yeah, it was hard. There's still places in my heart for Tony, and I'll never forget him. But Winnie is starting to fill that void. Winnie and I have been together since August the 17th. We passed our team training. We had to do our team training online with someone else that's on here today. We graduated our team training, and we've become pretty darn good friends. The difference between Tony and Winnie is that Winnie also has started bonding with my wife, Cindy. Tony was totally my dog. Like, if I went out and left Tony at home, then he would do, piss on you, Cindy, I'm going to my kennel. And he would just go and spend all the time that I was away in his kennel. Yeah. And then when I came home, then he would come out. And so he was, my dog. Where Winnie, which I'm grateful for, is, she's really bonding with Cindy as well. And so that, that it helps Cindy because, even though, and I forget the term, but there's also trauma that's experienced by the family members as a result of the patient. And so, in a lot of ways, I think Winnie is helping Cindy as well. Now, because Winnie is, Winnie and I are paired together, we're a team together, then a lot of the rules that were maintained, with puppy raising, I don't do. Winnie sleeps with me on the bed, and she's a bed hog, but I love it. And then, when I do suffer from nightmares, I can pet her. Her ears are very soft and very calming. I can hold her feet and just feel that touch, which helps me to calm down and get back to sleep. With the COVID, I experienced a lot of anxiety, and I still have a lot of anxiety. But with Winnie's help, we can now start going to the grocery stores and things like that. And I'm starting to get back cautiously, into going to outings. And I still experience anxiety and sometimes rage, especially, in dealing with traffic, just because of some of the things that I've experienced in my investigations and in my career. And also Winnie will sit with me in my recliner chair, and she thinks she's a lap dog. She's much smaller than Tony. Tony was 80 pounds and Winnie's only 55. So Winnie fits in the chair much better. And her and the cat have developed a really, really good relationship. Um, Violet was part of team training whenever we did any of our exercises or our tests, except at the mall. Then Violet was there. She had to get into the picture, and you'll probably see her now. But she was a great distraction for Winnie, and it was really good during the testing and during exercises because Winnie would focus on what she needed to do, and that was important. So, I would, it's difficult to describe as, that my life has gotten better because the COVID really, um, you know, put a damper on it. I'm involved with a 12-step program, and Tony and I used to go to meetings all the time. But because of the COVID, um, I haven't been to an in-person 12-step meeting since the spring. I do it online. And so the COVID it was not only a shock for me, but it was a shock for Tony too, because, we didn't go out as much. So we had to work through that. My life is getting better, thanks to the PADS people and thanks to Winnie. Um, We've got a big change coming up. We live in Armstrong right now. We've sold our house and we're moving to Ladysmith, which for those that don't know is on Vancouver Island. We bought a house. We're going to be moteling it for a month and a half until our house is finished over there. So that's some challenges that, I'm looking forward to. For me, change is good. I've decided for a number of years that I would like to buy a sailboat and, get into sailing and get into, exploring the coast of British Columbia. I did that as a child, and I would look forward to returning to that. And, I've discovered that, some of Winnie's razors, had a place on one of the islands just off of, well, I can say the island, on Bowen Island. And, so Winnie is used to ferries, she's used to boats, and she's also been taken out in canoes and paddle boards. So I don't see any problem with that. She's a fantastic car traveler. She needs to travel in the car. She would rather be in the car than in the house. Even if we're just making a dump run, she would rather sit in the truck while we're loading the truck than, be around us or be in the house. So she does that. She's got a lot of energy. She's a very loving dog. She's she tries to be gentle, but she can be a bull in a china shop. Often when she's up with me in my recliner, everything will be nice and relaxed, and we'll be nice and calm, and then Violet will come along and swat at her tail or something, and then Violet takes off and Winnie's got to go after her, and then I end up getting a foot in the belly or something like that, and it's just entertaining. When we go for walks or dog parks, it's so nice just to watch her being a dog, and to spend time with other dogs. I just find it, I can find serenity when I'm with Winnie. So, I want to thank, PADS, PADS sponsors, PADS volunteers, PADS employees, and, even for those that, were involved with Winnie when she was just starting out. You've all done a very good job, and Winnie's, she's growing a little more in my heart every day. So I'm grateful, and I'm looking forward to the future. Thanks.
Well, I think that's fascinating. And just, I think as somebody, like, I've raised puppies and given them up, and So I've had that experience of that handoff. So I can't imagine what that would be like going from that handoff to receiving your own service dog. And so, I think it's very cool that you've given space to kind of that grieving process alongside this new kind of stage of the journey. I do want to talk about one thing kind of to our audience. We've been announcing all of our graduates, et cetera. And one of the things that PADS has made a conscious decision to do is we call all of our service dogs, regardless of the type of service they're providing, we call them service dogs. We don't say this is our PTSD service dog graduate, because that's Steve's story to tell if he wants to tell it. So obviously today he shared that information with everybody, but I think sometimes we've had some questions from folks about, why are there no PTSD graduates? And there are. It's simply, we have a PTSD dog program. We train for that kind of support and those kinds of skills. But it's not something that we would put out on social media without kind of that express permission, because it's not our story to tell. So Holly has posted and just said, thanks so much for sharing your journey. I volunteer around police officers and oftentimes get to share the struggles and ask for help is hard for them. What can people do to recognize and help those struggling with PTSD, to help them be open and look for resources that you've found helpful in a service dog?
Okay, Holly, thanks for your question. Oh, it's gone.
So I'm sorry, I'll bring it up.
Okay, I was just reading
If you
it.
click on answered, it should show up to you.
Okay, there we go. Okay, thanks, Holly. I can only answer for myself, and I can only answer for the Mounted Police or Royal Canadian Mounted Police universe. I can't answer for other police services, but I believe that the attitude is very similar in that we are, and it is changing, but there is an expectation to suck it up. There is an expectation to not show that we are hurting. There is an expectation that we just kind of take it and don't talk about it and don't say anything. For me, one of my coping mechanisms was alcohol. But the problem with that for me was that it only went away temporarily. And then, once that wore off, then the problems were still there. And then there were problems that were created because of the abuse of alcohol. I know that things are getting better in the Mounted Police. For a couple of years, we had a program called the Road to Mental Readiness, which was a program developed by the Calgary Police and the Canadian military. And it was how to recognize mental health issues and declining mental health issues. And I actually became an instructor and facilitator of that program. And, I taught, hundreds of our employees. We included not only our police officers, but support staff as well. And I don't think that it is being practiced today. Now, I don't know, but I don't think it is being practiced today, which is sad, because it helped to recognize symptoms in ourselves, symptoms in our colleagues, and to address those symptoms. But there's still a lot of stigma around mental health. There's still a lot of stigma around addiction and substance abuse. And until we as a society can get our head around that, I think we're going to suffer. So, you know, and I know that's a long answer, Holly, and I apologize for that. But, you know, a lot of people will say, well, you know, you can see someone with a broken leg, but you can't see someone, you know, with some that might be suffering from some issues. And I challenge that because I think we can see it. People will change their behavior. You know, people will become more isolated. People can become more rageful, and also more risky behaviors. You know, if all of a sudden, you know, there's a dangerous situation and someone, you know, decides that they're just going to go in and fix it and put themselves and other, you know, their other colleagues or other people, you know, in the public at risk, then that could be a symptom that something is going on. So, you know, I hope that I answered your question, Holly. And, you know, and I can only answer for my experience with the Mounted Police. And, you know, and the help was there when I asked for it. You know, when I reached out and said, well, you know, like I had to hit bottom, you know, I had to spend a night in the hospital and decide that, you know, I'd had enough. And I went to, you know, a place of self-discovery on Vancouver Island, you know, where I, you know, discovered the nature of my illnesses. And, you know, I had to surrender and I had to accept. And then once I did that, things started getting a lot better. Thanks.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. I think it really does. It's hard because I think it has to kind of start with the individual, but I think also, I think, you know, programs and supports and conversation and dialogue. And I think even what you're doing right now today and just kind of sharing your story, I think hopefully reduces some of that stigma. So we really appreciate that you're doing that. We've got a lot of people that are asking if it's possible to get Miss Winnie to come on camera for a minute or two here.
Yes.
Um, you just have to find her.
Oh,
And I'm just
right
going to
here.
share. So Mark said, posted a couple of things here. So Sugar, who is Winnie's mom, is watching right now. And interestingly, she is also working with her breeder caretaker, Holly. She's retired, I believe, from breeding now, but she's working at the Anoka County Sheriff's Office in a accredited facility dog type role. So supporting police there. So, or the sheriff's staff. So yeah, and it's neat. We also have
There.
Winnie's brother Liam is watching, who is placed with one of our followers that's on here. Oh, hang on. There we are, pretty lady. Hello, Winnie. She's like, I'm going to get up close and personal. Little party girl. So I loved your description of her, and I can just imagine what it's like watching her play with other dogs. She has always been such a joyous, happy go lucky puppy. She was in my puppy class way back when in the day. So, and even then, she was just always ready for fun, always ready to work. And that tail never seems to stop. So she's like, I'm just going to come up and get cozy. Um, so anybody else that's watching, we've got a few more minutes here. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the Q&A box. For those of you that have just joined us, we're here live with Steve and Winnie, who are part of our 2020 graduating class. We thank all of you that have joined us and asked questions. Carol Ann's just asking, what was the name of the litter that Winnie was from? So Winnie was from the L litter, correct? Mark, hopefully Mark can jump in the comments here. Mark is from Can Do Canines, and he's reached out, and I've been in touch with him about Winnie. So Winnie's original name when she was at Can Do Canines was Lizzie. I know she has a brother Liam and a brother Linus. So hopefully somebody can jump in here. But yeah, so PADS names on litter themes, and then some other schools name their dogs, and all the dogs in the litter have the same letter of the alphabet, and they just kind of keep going through the alphabet over and over again as each litter is born. So, and so one of our followers is asking, how long was the wait from the time you applied to be matched with a service dog?
It actually wasn't that long. I believe I applied in, late February to March of this year. And then I was paired with Winnie on August 17th.
Nice. And with our program, our PTSD expression of interest form application process is kind of the one part that is currently kind of open to folks. So if you're interested, feel free to pop an email across to communications@PADS. We haven't fully reopened our list for service, hearing, and accredited facility dogs yet. COVID has certainly had an impact on our program. So we've just gotten another note too from Janine, who is one of Winnie's puppy raisers, 7 in her litter, 4 yellow, 3 black. And she has her own Facebook page with some baby photos on it. So if anybody wants to check that out, you can give that a search. Nancy, who is one of our favorite people, our former board president, has tuned in here, and she's asking, thank you for sharing your journey. What recommendations can you give to others to help them contact or recognize they have a problem and that there's help available to them? What does that look like, Steve? Or do you have ideas?
Like I mentioned earlier, mental health still has a huge stigma. And I think if we're honest with, like I would approach, if I saw someone suffering, I would talk to them privately and approach them and just tell them what I see. Without pointing fingers, but it could be something very subtle. It could be something, maybe they're late for work every day, or maybe they don't want to go home at the end of their shift. Maybe they're a little more withdrawn, and it can be a range of things that, might not have anything to do with work. Sometimes maybe, ailing parents, or, an overabundance of debt, or perhaps, a spouse or a child might have substance abuse issues. But I would suggest, and again, I don't have any letters behind my name or anything. I can only talk in my experience. Is to be respectful, be considerate, and just talk about what you see, the differences that you see. 2 months ago, you were happy and you seem to be happy at work, and now I see you being withdrawn and you don't even want to go for coffee with us anymore. Is there anything that you'd like to talk about, that I can help you with? And I just try to be open and without pointing fingers. And if they don't want to talk, then that's fine. But at least I've left that door open so that, sometime if they're feeling more comfortable, at least they know that they can come to me.
Yeah. I think that's important too. I think, in this age of the internet too, I think we see a lot more kind of armchair kind of diagnoses, right? As opposed to, I think coming from that place of care is a really beautiful thing. And just saying, I care about you and I'm worried because I'm seeing things that are different. And I think you're right. So, Mark has come on and just shared a comment. Mary, my wife, is matched with Winnie's brother, Liam. She says, what Steve said about Winnie bonding with Cindy is so important because she feels it helps both of us. That's exactly true. It is an interesting thing. I mean, when we're placing dogs, we focus a lot, I know, in team training about building the bond between the client and the dog. But this dog joins a household, and it's beautiful to see. Um, it was kind of interesting in our house. We call dogs that have to get in on the action and are a little bit worried when someone's getting into trouble, constable responsible. Winnie kind of darting off when Violet was getting into something in the other room there. I could tell her being like, something is happening and I'm not sure if it's okay. So, but it's also a really cool thing to know that she also gets that time to just be a dog, and that actually brings joy to your world. And she is definitely a character. So there's probably some stories on the call here. If I look at the people that are watching, they could share about Winnie's antics as a puppy. So, and for those that are wondering, Tony, I believe now is in advanced training. And so he's carrying on in his journey as well. So Carol is asking, Steve, with having been a puppy raiser for Tony and now having your own pup, what qualities or skills would you look for or do differently?
Um, Hi, Carol. I can't really say that I would do anything differently. You know, I'm grateful because when I went into into team training, into the advanced training, I had a good knowledge of what the basics were. So it made it a little less confusing for me. I'm not saying that my other participants were confused, but I just had a little more confidence, with the exercises.
Yeah.
And
That learning curve is not quite so steep when you go in having that
yeah,
experience. So, and I
yeah,
think too, for those watching, it's always interesting. If you've been involved with pads for a while, hearing people talk about their dogs. And I can't remember who said it. I think it was our volunteer, Heather, said to me that every dog you raise is like a different flavor of ice cream.
good.
And some of us have favorite flavors of ice cream. Some of us love all ice cream. And that, but they all bring kind of different things to the table. And sometimes you'll find one that you're just not really fond of. And then others that you just love in a completely different way. So, um, and, yeah, so I think it's one of those things to recognize that like the love of one does not negate the love of the other. And, but then it just is different. So, and I think your experience is unique in many ways in terms of having come on as a puppy raiser first before having a service dog. There's not many folks that have kind of taken that path. So I think that was a nice transition for you, and also nice for you to be able to see just the benefit even of a dog that's not fully trained, but just having a dog in your life in terms of kind of helping with those symptoms. So um, Mark just shares, this is so fascinating because we had the same experience of turning in a dog we were puppy raising and 15 minutes later walking out with our service dog. So it's interesting, the parallels. How frequent, so Holly, your question, how frequent does it happen that puppy raiser is also a recipient later? I'm trying to think um, of we have a few cases. So Cello that was matched last year, he was part of our graduating class last year, was matched with one of our puppy raisers in Calgary, Ashley. But there's not been a lot. So that's not typical. And to be honest, it's not something we necessarily encourage. So if somebody's coming to PADS to apply to be a client, we don't say, hey, sign up and raise a dog first. That's not typically kind of the path that we would recommend. But it's not, I think, we may see a bit of a shift in that as, because historically, as we've been placing kind of purely mobility service dogs, somebody raising a puppy that is, for example, in a wheelchair, et cetera, trying to raise, a puppy that's trying to get into the garbage and, having accidents that need to be cleaned up, all that kind of thing. It's just not a practical proposition. But as our client group diversifies, I think we probably will see more of that. We certainly have had many volunteers that have gone to become AFD clients. Macbeth, that was at University of Fraser Valley, his client was one of our advanced kennel volunteers. Sorry, Catherine. So those of you that know our community, many of our graduates have gone on to accredited facility dog placements because those individuals discovered the impact that having a dog in their workplace had in such a positive way. And so then they went on to apply. But this may be our first service dog client. Don't quote me on that, anyone. Okay. But in memory that I can think of, it's the first one we've had. So, but we thank you for that. And we thank you for how you contributed to kind of giving back in our community, because, down the road, somebody will benefit from that gift. So I'm just looking to see if there are other questions. I think we've answered them. So we've gone over by about 10 minutes here, and I also want to just acknowledge our lovely Lanny, as always. Everybody that is on the call, you may not realize it, but there is a lovely human being behind the words that have appeared at the bottom of the screen. Lanny is one of our volunteers that comes online each week to make sure that our videos are accessible for those that are deaf or hard of hearing, or simply at work and can't turn the volume on. And we really appreciate her and her amazing ability to keep up with us when we start rambling. So with that, is there anything else that you want to add or close with, Steve, before we sign off here? Or any last questions from our audience?
I would just like to say thank you for attending. And dogs, these PADS dogs have made a big difference in my life. Even starting out with Tony, going to puppy class would just make me laugh. And, seeing the different ages, I used to go a little bit early just to see the younger ones as well. And it's just, there's something about dogs that it calms me right down. And so thank you to everyone for your support. Thank you for allowing me to share my journey with you. And I hope to talk to you in the near future. Thanks, Tara.
Thank you so much for joining us, Steve. Nancy says, well done, what a wonderful chat. And Mark says, thank you so much, Steve. So happy to see Winnie is with such a wonderful human. So, and those humans, they're crazy. So anyway, thank you so much, everyone. And we will tune in again. And I just want to give everybody a shout out and reminder about graduation is coming on November 29th. Put it on your calendar. And if you haven't registered already, go to pads.ca/grad, GRAD, and you can sign up to receive the link. It is, of course, going to be virtual grad because the world is still a crazy place. But we will be celebrating, and we're very excited. I have the sneak peek at some of what's going to be shared, and I can guarantee you don't want to miss it. So please be sure to go and do that today. And stay tuned. We will be scheduling more of these chats with our graduates. I believe we're taking a week off next week, but you can follow on our Tune In Tuesday page, and we publish those posts there. And we're looking, just as a heads up for everyone, we're looking at a way that you can kind of subscribe once and get notifications each week of who the guest is with a link to the call, so you don't have to register each week. So thank you for that feedback from the people that provided it, and we're looking at a way technologically to make that happen really, really easily for you. Okay, and we will see you all again soon. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Bye, Winnie.
He's gone.